Okay, let's keep going. 31st of July, 2025. And we're up to the third section in The Magician. And that's starting from, yeah, page 154 in the calligraphic volume and 317 in the 2009 publication. And yeah, Liber secundus, second volume in the Red Book. The Magician, section 3. Great. I continue on my way, accompanied by a finely polished piece of steel hardened in 10 fires, stowed safely in my robe. Secretly, I wear a chainmail under my coat. Overnight, I become fond of serpents, and I solved their riddle. I sit down next to them on the hot stones lying by the wayside. I know how to catch them cunningly and cruelly, those cold devils that prick the heel of the unsuspecting. I became their friend and played a softly toned flute, but I decorate my cave with their dazzling skins. As I walked on my way, I came to a red rock on which a great iridescent serpent lay. Since I had now learned magic from Philemon, I took out my flute again and played a sweet magical song to make her believe that she was my soul. When she was sufficiently enchanted, I spoke to her. My sister, my soul, what do you say? But she spoke, flattered, and therefore tolerantly. I let grass grow over everything that you do. There ensues a conversation between Jung and his soul, but there's also inset image 155. Well, and and footnote reading yeah, so in psychological aspects of the core 1951, Jung anonymously described this image as then she, the anima, appears in a church, taking the place of the altar, still over life size, but with veiled face. He commented, Dream 11 restores the anima to the Christian church, not as an icon, but as the altar itself. The altar is the place of sacrifice and also the receptacle for consecrated relics. On the left-hand side is the Arabic word for daughters. On the border of the image is the following inscription, Latin reading. It's a citation from 1 Corinthians 2, 7 to 10. Quote, but we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which God ordained before the world unto our glory, which none of the princes of the world knew. For had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have um eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit, for the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. Okay, and on either side of the arch is the following inscription from Revelations 22:17, quote, the Spirit and the bride say, Come, and let him that heareth say, Come, and let him that is athirst come, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. Above the arch is the following inscription, Ave Virgo Virginum. This is the title of a medieval hymn. Okay. Yes, as you can see, it's rather complex. And so we're working from, at this point, yeah, this is Jan 29, 1914. And so now this conversation ensues, um, as Jung said, my sister, my soul, what do you say? But she spoke, flattered, and therefore tolerantly. I let grass grow over everything that you do. I, that seems comforting and seems not to say much. She, would you like me to say much? I can also be banal, as you know, and let myself be satisfied that way. I, that seems hard to me. I believe that you stand in a close connection with everything beyond, with what is greatest and most uncommon. Therefore, I thought that banality would be foreign to you. She, banality is my element. I, that would be less astonishing if I said it about myself. She, the more uncommon you are, the more common I can be. The more uncommon you are, the more common I can be. A true respite for me. I think you can sense that I don't need to torment myself today. I, I can feel it, and I'm worried that your tree will ultimately bear me no more fruit. She, worried already. Don't be stupid and let me rest. I I notice that you like being banal, but I do not take you to heart, my dear friend, since I now know you much better than before. But I do not take you to heart, my dear friend, since I now know you much better than before. You're getting to be familiar. I'm afraid that you are beginning to lose respect. Are you upset? I believe that would be uncalled for. I'm sufficiently well informed about the proximity of pathos and banality. She, so have you noticed that the becoming of the soul follows a serpentine path? Have you seen how soon day becomes night and night day? How water and dry land change places, and that everything spasmodic is merely destructive? I, I believe that I saw all this. I want to lie in the sun on this warm stone for a while. Perhaps the sun will incubate me. But the serpent crept up to me quietly and wound herself smoothly around my feet. Evening fell and night came. I spoke to the serpent and said, I don't know what to say. All pots are on the boil. And so now it seems like the serpent and the snake are the same. And so she or the snake, I'll read snake from now on. And this is on Jan 31, 1914. A meal is being prepared. A last supper, I suppose. A union with all humanity. A horrifying sweet thought to be both guest and dish at this meal. Is it in Mysterium Conjunctionis, Jung noted, if the projected conflict is to be healed, it must return into the soul of the individual, where it had its beginnings in an unconscious manner. He who wants to be the master of this descent must celebrate a last supper with himself and eat his own flesh and drink his own blood, which means that he must recognize and accept the other in himself. Okay, so a horrifying sweet thought to be both guest and dish at this meal. She, that was also Christ's highest pleasure. How holy, how sinful, how everything hot and cold flows into one another. Madness and reason want to be married. The lamb and the wolf graze peacefully side by side. Also see Isaiah 11:6, which I won't read. It is all as yes and no. The opposites embrace each other, see eye to eye, and intermingle. They recognize their oneness in agonizing pleasure. My heart is filled with wild battle. The waves of dark and bright rivers rush together, one crashing over the other. I've never experienced this before. That is new, my dear one, at least for you. I, I suppose you are mocking me, but tears and laughter are one. I no longer feel like either, and I am rigid with tension. Loving reaches up to heaven, and resisting reaches just as high. They are entwined and will not let go of each other, since the excessive tension seems to indicate the ultimate and highest possibility of feeling. You express yourself emotionally and philosophically. You know that one can say all this much more simply. For example, one can say that you have fallen in love all the way from the worm up to Tristan and Isolde, which is a 12th century tale of the adulterous romance between the Cornish knight Tristan and the Irish princess Isolde. It's been retold in many versions up to Wagner's opera, which Jung referred to as an example of the visionary mode of artistic creation in Psychology and Poetry, Collected Works 15. Okay. Jung says, yes, I know, but nonetheless, religion is still tormenting you, it seems. How many shields do you still need? Much better to say it straight out. I, you're not tripping me up. Well, what is it with morality? Have morality and immorality also become one today? You're mocking me, my sister and chthonic devil, but I must say that those two that rose up to heaven entwined are also good and evil. I'm not joking, but I groan because joy and pain sound shrill together. Where then is your understanding? You've gone utterly stupid. After all, you could resolve everything by thinking. My understanding, my thinking? I no longer have any understanding. It has grown impervious to me. She, you deny everything that you believed. You've completely forgotten who you are. You even deny Faust, who walked calmly past all the spectres. I, I'm no longer up to this. My spirit too is a spectre. I see, you follow my teaching. Unfortunately, that's the case, and it has benefited me with painful joy. You turn your pain into pleasure. You are twisted, blinded, just suffer. You turn your pain into pleasure. You are twisted, blinded, just suffer, you fool. This misfortune ought to make me happy. The serpent now became angry and tried to bite my heart, but my secret armor broke her poisonous fang. She drew back astonished and said, hissing, "You actually behave as if you were unfathomable." Aye, that's because I've studied the art of stepping from the left foot onto the right and vice versa, which others have done unthinkingly from time immemorial. The serpent raised herself again as if accidentally, holding her tail in front of her mouth so that I should not see the broken fang. Proudly and calmly she said, "So you have finally noticed this." But I spoke to her smilingly. The sinuous line of life could not escape me in the long run. There's now a commentary. Where is truth and faith? Where is warm trust? You find all this between men, but not between men and serpents, even if they are serpent souls. But wherever there is love, the serpent-like abides also. Christ himself compared himself to a serpent. Christ himself compared himself to a serpent, and his hellish brother, the Antichrist, is the old dragon himself. What is beyond the human that appears in love has the nature of the serpent and the bird. And the serpent often enchants the bird, and more rarely the bird bears off the serpent. Man stands in between. What seems like a bird to you is a serpent to the other, and what seems like a serpent to you is a bird to the other. Therefore, you will meet the other only in human form. If you want to become, then a battle between bird and serpent breaks out. And if you only want to be, you will be a man to yourself and to others. He who is becoming belongs in the desert or in a prison, for he is beyond the human. If men want to become, they behave like animals. No one saves us from the evil of becoming unless we choose to go through hell. Why did I behave as if that serpent were my soul? Only, it seems, because my soul was a serpent. This knowledge gave my soul a new face, and I decided henceforth to enchant her myself and subject her to my power. Serpents are wise, and I wanted my serpent soul to communicate her wisdom to me. Never before had life been so doubtful, a night of aimless tension, being one in being directed against one another. Nothing moved, neither God nor the devil. So I approached the serpent that lay in the sun, as if she were unthinking. Her eyes were not visible, since they blinked in the shimmering sunshine. And I spoke to her. But before I read that, insert image 159 and just a brief description. Image legend is 9 January 1927. My friend Herman Sigg died age 52. Jung described this as a luminous flower in the center with stars rotating about it. From the flower, rotating about it. Around the flower, walls with 8 gates. The whole conceived as a transparent window. Mandala based on a dream noted on Jan 2, 1927. Anonymously reproduced in Commentary on the Secret of the Golden Flower. I won't read the long description. Yes, anyway. And so we're going to go on to what he said. Oh, I spoke to her, and this is Feb 1, 1914. So, yes, so I approached the serpent that lay in the sun as if she were unthinking. Her eyes were not visible since they blinked in the shimmering sunshine, and I spoke to her. How will it be now that God and the devil have become one? Are they in agreement to bring life to a standstill? Does the conflict of opposites belong to the inescapable conditions of life? And does he who recognizes and lives the unity of opposites stand still? Has he completely taken the side of actual life, and he no longer acts as if he belonged to one party and had to battle against the other, but he is both and has brought their discord to an end? Through taking this burden from life, has he also taken the force from it? Black Book 4 also has, I lay these questions before you today, my soul. Here the serpent is substituted for the soul. The serpent turned and spoke ill-humouredly. Truly, you pester me. Opposites were certainly an element of life for me. You probably will have noticed this. Your innovations deprive me of this source of power. I can neither lure you with pathos nor annoy you with banality. I'm somewhat baffled. If you are baffled, should I give counsel? I would rather you dive down to the deeper grounds to which you have entry and ask Hades or the heavenly ones. Perhaps someone there can give counsel. You have become imperious. Necessity is even more imperious than I. I must live and be able to move. You have the whole wide earth. What do you want to ask the beyond for? Isn't it curiosity that drives me? It isn't curiosity that drives me, but necessity. I will not yield. I obey, but reluctantly. This style is new and unaccustomed to me. I'm sorry, but there is pressing need. Tell the depths that prospects are not looking too good for us, because we have cut off an important organ from life. As you know, I'm not the guilty one, since you have led me carefully along this way. She, you might have rejected the apple. Black Book 4, you are playing Adam and Eve with me. Enough of these jokes. You know that story better than I do. I'm serious. We need some air. Be on your way and fetch the fire. It has already been dark around me for too long. Are you sluggish or cowardly? She, I'm off to work. Take from me what I bring up. Moving on. Slowly, the throne of the god ascends into empty space, followed by the Holy Trinity, all of heaven, and finally Satan himself. He resists and clings to his beyond. He will not let it go. The upper world is too chilly for him. She, have you got tight hold of him? Black Book 4, Satan crawls out of a dark hole with horns and a tail. I pull him out by the hands. I pull him out by the hands. I, welcome, hot thing of darkness. My soul probably pulled you up roughly. Satan, why this noise? I protest against this violent extraction. Calm down. I didn't expect you. You come last of all. You seem to be the hardest part. Satan, what do you want from me? I don't need you, impertinent fellow. It's a good thing we have you. You're the liveliest thing in the whole dogma. Satan, what concern is your prattle to me? Make it quick. I'm freezing. Listen, something has just happened to us. We have united the opposites. Among other things, we have bonded you with God. Satan, for God's sake, why this hopeless fuss? Why such nonsense? Please, that wasn't so stupid. This unification is an important principle. We have put a stop to never-ending quarreling. We have put a stop to never-ending quarreling to finally free our hands for real life. Satan, this smells of monism. I've already made note of some of these men. Special chambers have been heated for them. You're mistaken. Matters are not as rational with us as they seem to be. Black Book 4 has, matters are not as intellectual and generally ethical with us as in monism. We have no single correct truth either. Rather, a most remarkable and strange fact has occurred. After the opposites had been united, quite unexpectedly and incomprehensibly, nothing further happened. Everything remained in place, peacefully and still completely motionless, and life turned into a complete standstill. Satan, yes, you fools, you certainly have made a pretty mess of things. Well, your mockery is unnecessary. Our intentions were serious. Satan, your seriousness leads us to suffer. The ordering of the beyond is shaken to its foundations. So you realize that matters are serious. I want an answer to my question. What should happen under these circumstances? We no longer know what to do. Satan, well, it is hard to know what to do and difficult to give advice, even if one would like to give it. You are blinded fools, a brashly impertinent people. Why didn't you stay out of trouble? How do you mean to understand the ordering of the world? Your ranting suggests that you are quite thoroughly aggrieved. Look, the Holy Trinity is taking things coolly. It seems not to dislike the innovation. Satan, the Trinity is so irrational that one can never trust its reaction. I strongly advise you not to take those symbols seriously. I thank you for this well-meant advice, but you seem to be interested. One would expect you to pass unbiased judgment on account of your proverbial intelligence. Satan, me, unbiased, you can judge for yourself. If you consider this absoluteness in its completely lifeless equanimity, you can easily discover that the state and standstill produced by your presumptuousness closely resembles the absolute. But if I counsel you, I place myself completely on your side, since you too find this standstill unbearable. What? You take my side? That is strange. Satan, that's not so strange. The absolute was always averse to the living. The absolute was always adverse to the living. I am still the real master of life. That is suspicious. Your reaction is far too personal. Satan, my reaction is far from personal. I am utterly restless, quickly hurrying life. I am never contented, never unperturbed. I pull everything down and hastily rebuild. I am ambition, greed. I am ambition, greed for fame, lust for action. I am the fizz of new thoughts and action. The absolute is boring and vegetative. All right, I believe you. So just what do you advise? Satan, the best advice I can give you is revoke your completely harmful innovation as soon as possible. Aye. What would be gained by that? We'd have to start from scratch again and would infallibly reach the same conclusion a second time. What one has grasped once, one cannot intentionally not know again and undo. Your counsel is no counsel. Satan. But could you exist without divisiveness and disunity? You have to get worked up about something. Represent a party, overcome opposites, if you want to live. Aye, that does not help. We also see each other in the opposite. We've grown tired of this game. We've grown tired of this game, Satan, and so with life. Aye, it seems to me that it depends on what you call life. Your notion of life has to do with climbing up and tearing down, with assertion and doubt, with impatient dragging around, with hasty desire. You lack the absolute and its forbearing patience. Satan, quite right. My life bubbles and foams and stirs up turbulent waves. It consists of seizing and throwing away, ardent wishing and restlessness. That is life, isn't it? Aye, but the absolute also lives. Satan, that is no life. It is a standstill or as good as a standstill, or rather, it lives interminably slowly and wastes thousands of years, just like the miserable condition that you have created. Aye, you enlighten me. You are personal life, but the apparent standstill is the forbearing life of eternity, the life of divinity. This time you have counseled me well. I will let you go. Farewell. And there was inset image 163, which is kind of like a city, and it has the inscription, image legend 1928. When I painted this image, which showed the golden, well-fortified castle, Richard Wilhelm sent me from Frankfurt the Chinese 1,000-year-old text of the Golden Castle, the embryo of the immortal body. A church both Catholic and Protestant shrouded in secrecy, the end of an aeon. Jung described this, a mandala, as a fortified city with walls and moat. Within, a broad moat surrounding a wall, fortified with 16 towers and with another inner moat. The moat encloses a central castle with golden roofs, whose center is a golden temple, anonymously reproduced in Secret of the Golden Flower, which I won't read, long description. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, then Satan crawls deftly like a mole back into his hole again. The symbol of the Trinity and its entourage rise up in peace and equanimity to heaven. I thank you, serpent, for holding up the right one for me. Holding up the right one for me. Everyone understands his words, since they're personal. We can live again a long life. We can waste thousands of years. So I might pause there and call that The Magician, Section 3 in Liber Secundus, second volume of the Red Book, and continue with The Magician 4.